Wire armatures, legs and feet. We're going to start with some armature wire like this. You may have something thinner on the left or thicker on the right. What's on the right is a little too thick for what we're going to do with the legs, so let's just get started with what we have on the left. You want to make sure that it can loop around the T-nut, and so we're going to measure 2 lengths of the leg right here. Just snip a little bit off with your nippers and you fold it in half. I'd like to use pliers to get it nice and tight. And just squeeze that little loop down. Leave a little opening so that the T-nut can slip inside. This is a T-nut. It's a 440 threaded rod insert with 3 teeth that can loop onto armature. Basically, it's what ties down your armature to your shooting stage like this. If you're not familiar, the way that you tie down a puppet to a shooting stage is you drill a hole into the shooting stage, then you take a 440 threaded rod like this one, and a knurled nut like this, or a winged nut. You thread it onto what is the T-nut inside of your foot, like this, and you push it through the shooting stage. Then you secure it with the knurled nut below. This is how you secure your puppet to the stage so that you can animate it. So that's why we need the T-nuts, and that's how we're going to be moving forward. So you take your T-nut and you open 2 of the teeth on the T-nut so that it can slip inside of the loop of the armature wire. Push down on the armature wire so that it's snug against the dimple of the T-nut. Then you squeeze the 2 pieces of armature wire together so that it's secure on the T-nut. Then you close the teeth on top of the wire so that you get a nice snug fit. At this point, your T-nut should be fixed so that it doesn't slide off of the armature wire. Now you take some thread, and we're going to do something called lashing. You want to double up your thread and tie the 2 ends together. Then you just nip off the ends. You wrap your thread around the armature wire, and then you pull the end of the thread through the loop. You snake the thread through the armature wire so that it gives it a secure bond. Otherwise, it'll just slip around. Now you wrap the thread up the armature wire like so. This binds the wires together so that they function as one. We use multiple wires so that during a shot, if one of them breaks, we have another existing wire left so that we can complete the animation before the shot is done. Go all the way up the wire, and when you're to the end, snake it through the two pieces of armature wire like you did at the beginning. And then I like to tie it off at the end, but this is an unnecessary measure if it's already nice and secure. Then you nip your thread off of the end, and now you have the beginning of a foot and leg. Now I'm going to do the toes, and I'm going to be using a 22 gauge floral wire to start with. So you just begin by bending it in half. I like to pinch it so that it's nice and snug like this. So this will be our middle toe, and I'm marking where it ends. Now you just loop over the next two toes. And make an exact replica of what you did in the middle on the two sides. Don't forget to crimp your toes so that they're nice and snug, so that they follow the character design as closely as possible. Now I kind of make a trident form, like so. Double check it on the character design, and it looks like I need to splay these toes out just a little bit more. Now I'm placing it on the leg and making sure that everything looks good. You want to make sure that your T-nut threaded rod insert is cleared. And now we just lash it again. Do the same thing, you double up the thread and tie it off at the end. Nip those long tendrils off. And start at the base, looping your thread through itself to make it latch. Snaking it through the floral wire so that it doesn't get loose. and then just begin lashing. This bonds the floral wire and the armature wire together so that they function as one. Now you snake the thread through the tops of the wire like we did previously, and I'm not going to tie it off this time. I'm just going to go ahead and clip it so that it's nice and short. I'm bending the toes down so that they're flush with the bottom of the threaded rod insert. Now on to the JB Quick Weld portion of the foot. JB Quick Weld is a two-part epoxy. It has a gray base and a black hardener that you mix together to make it cure. If you don't mix these two together, it will never cure, so don't forget this step of the process. Be sure to mix these two thoroughly. It's got about 5 minutes working time, which means it's viscous before it starts to harden. I've forgotten a really important part of the process, which is taking your threaded rod and putting a little bit of Vaseline on it and putting it into the threaded insert of the T-nut on your foot. This will make sure that the JB Quick doesn't get inside of your threaded insert, which you need to adhere your puppet to the shooting stage. You put it in all the way to the top, and I'm going to put just a little bit more Vaseline on the top of that threaded rod so it doesn't get stuck. It's the worst when it gets stuck inside of your foot. Then it's unusable and you have to start over again. So I start with just putting a little bit of JB Quick on top of the foot to start. Now I'm putting it on the sides and the bottom of the foot. You want to make sure that your T-nut is fully encompassed in JB Quick. I'm being sure to get the toe wires in as well because I want them to be secure with the foot. If your character doesn't have toes, you can just leave that portion out of your build. You can just have the T-nut adhered to the armature wire without the floral wire extensions. Something to note here is that we're using JB Quick. There's also something called JB Weld. You don't want to use that by accident because it doesn't cure in 5 minutes. It'll leave a watery mess all over your foot if that's what you use. I'm really taking the time here to make sure that T-nut is encompassed. I'm checking to see if the threaded rod is sticking out straight from my foot. You don't want it to be off-center. It'll make it difficult to go into your shooting stage if that's the case. Now when you're finished with your JB Quick and it's dried, I'd like to go ahead and sand the bottoms off so that they're nice and straight.